The year is 2019. The world watches, stunned. Italy, a founding member of the G7, a pillar of the Western world, does the unthinkable. It signs up to China's Belt and Road Initiative, the first and only major Western economy to do so. In Brussels and Washington, jaws hit the floor. This wasn't just a trade deal, it was a statement. A geopolitical earthquake. Italy had just invited the dragon into the heart of Europe and nobody could quite believe what they were seeing. It was like finding out your quiet neighbor had just bought a pet tiger. Why would they do such a thing? You have to look south, to Greece. There, China had performed an economic miracle. They took over the struggling port of Piraeus in 2016 and transformed it. It became a super-efficient gateway, a gleaming white and blue terminal handling a staggering 98% of China's trade into the country. Italy looked on with envy. Its own ports were creaking, its economy stagnant. They saw China's investment not as a threat but as a lifeline, a chance to get a piece of that colossal economic pie. This wasn't just about ports and trade routes, though. This was about ambition. China wasn't just building roads, it was building influence, brick by brick, deal by deal. The Belt and Road was its grand strategy, a modern Silk Road paved with cash and concrete, designed to reshape the global order. Italy, feeling left behind by its traditional allies and desperate for growth, decided to take a gamble. They rolled out the red carpet hoping for a flood of investment that would reinvigorate their nation. The world held its breath. The decision sent shockwaves through the corridors of power. The Americans were furious. The Europeans were bewildered. Had Italy lost its mind? They warned of debt traps, of strategic assets falling into the hands of a global rival. But Italy's leaders at the time waved away the concerns. They saw only opportunity, a golden ticket to prosperity offered by a rising superpower. They believed they could control the relationship, take the money without paying the price. It was a bold, and as it would turn out, a dangerously naive assumption. The story of Pirelli was about to prove just how wrong they were. Long before Italy officially joined the Belt and Road, the dragon had already sunk its claws into one of the country's most iconic brands. Back in 2015, the state-owned behemoth ChemChina, now part of the even bigger Sinochem group, made a move that was both audacious and brilliant. They tabled a massive $7.7 billion deal. The prize? Pirelli. A name synonymous with Italian engineering, Formula One glamour, and high-performance tires. It was more than a company. It was a national treasure, a piece of Italy's soul. The deal was structured cleverly. ChemChina took a 37% stake, becoming the largest shareholder. Another Chinese company snapped up 9%. Together they held nearly half the company and a staggering 60% of the board seats. Power had shifted decisively from Milan to Beijing, but to calm Italian nerves, a special agreement was put in place. A promise was made. Pirelli's headquarters would stay in Milan, its legendary research and development would remain Italian. The management, led by the charismatic Marco Tronchetti Provera, would be preserved. It was a deal with the devil, dressed up in a corporate suit. For a while, the uneasy alliance held. The Chinese investors provided a huge cash injection, allowing Pirelli to expand and innovate. The Italians kept control of the day-to-day operations and the brand's prestigious image. It seemed like a win-win. Italy got the investment it craved, and China got a foothold in European high-tech manufacturing. But beneath the surface, a clock was ticking. That special agreement, the very document that guaranteed Pirelli's Italian identity, had an expiration date. That date was 2020. And everyone knew that when it passed, the real power struggle would begin. And so, for 5 years, an illusion was maintained. The Pirelli calendars still featured the world's most beautiful women, the tires still screamed around the world's most famous racetracks. To the outside world, it was business as usual. But inside the boardroom, a silent tension was building. The Italian executives knew they were living on borrowed time. They were stewards of a great Italian legacy, but their new partners were agents of a global superpower with a very different agenda. The dragon wasn't just a shareholder, it was waiting patiently at the gates. The year 2020 arrived, and with it, the end of the line for the old promises. The special agreement that had protected Pirelli's Italian core expired, and just as feared, the mask came off. The honeymoon was officially over. ChemChina, now absorbed into the colossal state-owned Sinochem, was done playing nice. They had waited patiently for 5 years, and now it was time to collect. They began to assert their authority, moving to consolidate power and take full, undisputed control of the Italian tire giant. The quiet partnership was about to become a very loud and very public war. The first major shot was fired in 2022. Sinochem pushed through a new shareholder agreement. This wasn't a minor tweak, it was a power grab, plain and simple. The new pact was designed to expand their influence over every aspect of the company. Most critically, it gave them the right to appoint the company's next chairman. This was a red line. The chairman holds the ultimate power, setting the strategy and the entire direction of the company. It was a clear signal. Beijing, not Milan, would now be calling the shots. Pirelli was on the verge of becoming a mere subsidiary of a Chinese state entity. This move sent a jolt of alarm through Pirelli's long-standing leadership. Marco Tronchetti Provera, the company's executive vice chairman and the face of Pirelli for decades, saw the writing on the wall. He was not about to preside over the surrender of an Italian industrial icon. He had spent his life building and defending the brand. He knew that if Sinochem appointed the chairman, everything else would follow. The technology, the patents, the very future of the company would be decided in China. He realized he couldn't fight this battle in the boardroom alone. He needed a bigger weapon, he needed the state. And so, Tronchetti Provera, the ultimate corporate insider, began lobbying the Italian government in Rome. He warned them that a full Chinese takeover was imminent. This was no longer just a business dispute, it was a matter of national interest. Pirelli wasn't just a tire company, it was a strategic asset. It employed thousands, held thousands of patents, and was a symbol of Italian innovation. He framed the fight for Pirelli as a fight for Italy itself. The government was now faced with a monumental choice: stand by and watch a national champion fall, or intervene and risk the wrath of a global superpower. Faced with the imminent loss of Pirelli, the Italian government under Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni reached for a tool hidden deep within its legal arsenal. It is a power so significant, so potent, that it is reserved for moments of national crisis. It is called the Golden Power. This isn't some fantasy from a movie, it's a very real set of laws that allows the state to step in and block foreign takeovers of companies deemed strategically vital to the nation. It is Italy's ultimate defense mechanism, and in 2023, Rome decided it was time to use it. The government's intervention was, honestly, swift and decisive. It was a surgical strike aimed directly at the heart of Sinochem's ambitions. First, they issued a decree that flatly blocked the Chinese state-owned firm from appointing Pirelli's chairman. The power would instead be granted to Camfin, the holding company of Marco Tronchetti Provera, ensuring the leadership remained in Italian hands. It was a direct slap in the face to Beijing, a bold declaration that Italy, not China, would determine the fate of Pirelli. The government was drawing a line in the sand. But Rome didn't stop there. They went further, embedding new rules deep into Pirelli's corporate governance to permanently limit Chinese influence. They mandated that any strategic decision, anything involving the company's core technology, patents, or sensitive data, would now require a supermajority vote of 80% from the board. With their stake, Sinochem could no longer dictate terms. They could be outvoted. Their power, despite being the largest shareholder, had been effectively neutered. Italy had used its golden power to build a fortress around Pirelli, right under the dragon's nose. The move was a masterclass in political hardball. Italy had managed to curb Chinese control without forcing a full divestment, which would have triggered an even bigger international incident. They had threaded the needle, protecting their national interest while trying to avoid a complete diplomatic meltdown. The message to China was clear: you can be a partner, you can be an investor, but you will not be the master. The battle for the boardroom had been won for now, but the war for Pirelli, and for Italy's economic sovereignty, was far from over. So, why all the fuss? Why would the Italian government risk a full-blown diplomatic crisis with the world's second-largest economy over a tire company? The answer isn't just about national pride or protecting jobs. The real reason is much more alarming. It lies deep inside the rubber itself. This isn't about simple black circles that help your car go round corners. This is about technology, data, and the frightening future of surveillance. Pirelli is a pioneer in the world of smart tires, and that's what has Rome terrified. These aren't your grandfather's tires. Pirelli's most advanced products are embedded with electronic chips, tiny sensors that collect and transmit a constant stream of data. They monitor everything: tire pressure, temperature, wear and tear, and most critically, road conditions and vehicle location. This information is incredibly valuable for performance and safety, but in the hands of the wrong people, it's also a treasure trove of surveillance data. Every journey, every stop, every turn could potentially be tracked. The tires on your car could become spies for a foreign power. The Italian government's greatest fear was this: if Sinochem, a state-owned enterprise, took full control of Pirelli, where would all that data go? Under Chinese law, companies are compelled to share information with the state for national security purposes. The nightmare scenario was that the data collected from millions of cars across Europe and the world, on military vehicles, government convoys, and civilian infrastructure, could be fed directly back to intelligence agencies in Beijing. It was a national security risk of the highest order, hidden in plain sight on the wheels of every car. This is the new front line in the global power struggle. It's not fought with tanks and planes but with microchips and data streams. Pirelli, with its 6,000 patents and cutting-edge research, is a strategic asset in this technological Cold War. Protecting it wasn't just about saving an Italian brand, it was about preventing a massive security breach. The golden power wasn't just used to stop a corporate takeover, it was used to unplug a potential continent-spanning listening device. Italy had to act, because the alternative was simply too terrifying to contemplate. Italy has won the battle. Using its golden power, it has kept Pirelli out of China's complete control. Marco Tronchetti Provera remains in the driving seat, and the company's most sensitive technology is, for now, secure. On the surface, it's a victory for Italian sovereignty, a powerful statement from a G7 nation pushing back against Beijing's relentless expansion. But in the high-stakes world of global geopolitics, every action has a reaction. The big question, the one being whispered in the corridors of power from Rome to Washington, is a chilling one. What happens next? China is not known for its forgiveness. It has a long memory and an arsenal of economic weapons it can deploy without firing a single shot. Analysts believe retaliation is not a matter of if, but when and how. It likely won't be a dramatic headline-grabbing move. Beijing is far more subtle than that. The revenge could come in the form of quiet, unofficial boycotts. Chinese consumers could suddenly be encouraged to turn their backs on Italian luxury brands from fashion to cars. A small shift in the massive Chinese market could deliver a devastating blow to Italy's economy. The pressure is already being felt. As of 2025, Pirelli has been forced to put its own expansion plans in the United States on hold. American regulators, wary of the company's major Chinese shareholder, are creating obstacles. Meanwhile, talks between Pirelli's Italian and Chinese factions have completely broken down. The shareholder pact is on the verge of collapse, setting the stage for an all-out war for control at the 2026 annual meeting. The Golden Power intervention didn't solve the problem, it just kicked the can down a very bumpy road. And so, Italy finds itself in a precarious position. It stood up to the dragon and for a moment stared it down. But the dragon is patient. It can wait. Italy protected its crown jewel, but in doing so, it has painted a target on its back. The world is watching to see if this David can truly hold off Goliath, or if the price for its defiance will be a slow, painful economic squeeze. The power struggle for Pirelli is a story about more than just tires. It's a story about the future, a warning of the epic clash between Western independence and China's unstoppable ambition. The final chapter has yet to be written.